So, how does the body define the forehead? A place where hair does not grow. Human bodies do not grow hair on their foreheads. Even the hairiest guys out there don't grow hair on their forehead. It's just like the palm of the hands, the bottom of the feet. It's just an area. The nose. Oh, actually, I saw some guy with little hairs on his nose. Super old guy. His name was Buster. He was an old crabber. But it's very rare, if ever, does anyone grow hair on their foreheads. And that might be applicable to male pattern baldness, as we'll get into. But if I were the body, the way I would define the forehead is the area in the front of the face where the skull slopes steeply down the face. Right? There's like a vertical sloping steeply down the face part in the front of the skull. And the top of the head is like a flat topish part of the skull, right? An area where the surface is near parallel to the ground, and the forehead is where it's near vertical. And it seems like the body, this is why it might be interesting for male pattern baldness, is that the hairline seems to grow at the border between the vertical forehead and the flat parallel to the ground top of the head. Right? That's where this boy's hairline is. That's where hair starts to grow, when there's a sharp directional change in the shape of the head rather. Once the head starts sloping steeply down the face, the body recognizes that as forehead and knows not to grow hair there. Right? So the forehead has a border, and the border is at the hairline. And where it grows hair is kind of flat and parallel to the ground. Where it does not grow hair is where the skull slopes steeply down the face. So let's analyze this skull. This is an area where there is no hair. Is this area flat and parallel to the ground, or is it where the skull is sloping steeply down the face? Is it where the skull is sloping steeply down the face? Looks to me like it's an area where the skull is sloping steeply down the face. And this area is not sloping as steeply down the face. It's still kind of flat, parallel to the ground. It's getting a little slopier, but it's still flat enough. I think I could rest like a little army guy out there. Here, I don't think I could. I remember the border, the hair grows where it stops being flat and the skull starts sloping steeply down the face. That seems to be occurring here just as it occurred here. Where it starts sloping steeply down the face, that's where it becomes forehead. Where the skull starts sloping steeply down the face, that is forehead. So basically, the problem in terms of hair growth is that this area has the traits of forehead more so than it has the traits of top of the head. It's not flat parallel to the ground, or almost parallel to the ground. It's where the skull is sloping steeply down the face. This is now forehead, and the body is treating it as such and not growing any hair on it. That's the basic cause of hair loss, as it seems to me, based on what I think would be a simple definition of a forehead. Where your head slopes steeply down your face, the body classifies as forehead and does not grow hair there. Where the sloping steeply down the face flattens out suddenly and gets kind of flat to the ground, that's top of the head, and hair will grow there. That's it. The problem is you don't have a receding hairline. You have a receding border contour that distinguishes the top of your head from the forehead. that border has changed over time. When you were a boy, your skull contours, the border between your forehead and the top of your head, looked a lot more like this. And this is an exceptional example. He's got very sharp contours. Now that you have a receding hairline, then the contours of your skull resemble something more like this. You don't have a receding hairline problem, like I said. You have a receding contour problem. You have a changing contour problem. You have a reclassification of parts of your skull that used to be top of the head that as forehead. They've been reclassified as forehead. That's your problem. That's how hair loss occurs. And it's evident on everyone else there. It's like, where's the sharp contour? Where is where the head is sloping steeply down the face? There is no hair. This is all forehead. There's no contour. There's no sharp change in direction. Where the head starts sloping steeply down the face, there is no hair there. Where it starts sloping steeply down the face, that is forehead. This area is all forehead. Right? This is not sloping steeply down the face. It's still flat. It doesn't slope steeply down the face until here. This whole head is sloping steeply down the face. This whole head is forehead. This whole thing has been reclassified as forehead. It has the properties, characteristics of forehead. Toddlers, same thing. This area is sloping steeply down the face. This area is sloping steeply down the face. This is forehead. This is forehead. Once this bulge in the middle gets flattened out, and this flattens out, this will be reclassified again as top of the head, and hair will start to grow there. There are no kids walking around who look like this. They all look like this. It flattens out. Starts off kind of roundish, and then it flattens out like this. Where the forehead changes direction, and where there's a sharp change in direction, that's where the hair grows. It's got to be kind of flat, kind of parallel to the ground, right? That's not quite parallel, but it's flatter than that. And this angle is a lot steeper than that angle. There's a contour there. Sharp angle. The sharper your angles are, the better your hairline, or the more stronger your hairline will be, and the better your hair will grow. That's how hair loss works.